and you announced it. You released that video this morning. Why do you want to be our next governor?
I'm running for governor to make New York affordable and safe. We have seen decades of single-party rule led by Democrats, and Kathy Hochul is the worst governor in America. New York is the most unaffordable state in the nation, with the highest taxes, the highest energy bills, the highest utility bills. We also have a crime crisis because Kathy Hochul has brought us failed bail reform and has embraced the defund the police Democrats. And after this week, Ainsley, when we saw a raging anti-Semite, pro-Hamas communist who wants to raise taxes, and frankly, he barely won the majority of New York City voters, Kathy Hochul endorsed him and bent the knee. She has failed New Yorkers. So this is a broad coalition of Republicans, independents, and Democrats who know that enough is enough. We need common sense leadership to make New York affordable and safe again.
So one of the things you talk about is affordability, and you featured that in your announcement ad. Let's watch it.
Stefanik, she'll always put Donald Trump ahead of you.
So how are you going to combat that?
My response is I've always put New York families first. Kathy Hochul has put New York families last again and again and again. She's an accidental governor. She's only in this position because she was Cuomo's lieutenant governor. And when New Yorkers were looking for strong leadership from a governor, not to bend the knee to Zohran Mamdani, Kathy Hochul bent the knee. Why did she do that? Because she is hemorrhaging support, even in her own party among Democrats. This is a toxic governor who has a record of delivering the highest taxes in the nation, of hurting hardworking New Yorkers, of turning her back on law enforcement officers and small businesses. New York is in catastrophe because of Kathy Hochul's leadership. So I'm running to always put New York families first. That's what I've done in 10 years of Congress. And by the way, Kathy Hochul was fired after just one term in Congress because her constituents from Western New York know that she failed them. They are voting for Elise Stefanik, as well as Republicans and independents, because they want to save our state.
I saw a couple of flash polls, and you're either leading or tied, so it's pretty amazing. But in particular, you looked at the city, just elect somebody who says, I'm a socialist, I don't like capitalism, and doesn't really seem too fond of America. How do you win over those people? What do you know about New York that's different from New York City?
Well, first of all, I think it's important, Brian. This was not a mandate, even though Mamdani is claiming such. He barely got over 50%. So that is really a historically low performance for someone who won the Democrat primary. That means nearly half of New York City voters, which is traditionally a Democrat city, voted against Mamdani because they know he is so radical. He's out of touch with hardworking families, with small businesses who are already crushed by the highest taxes in the nation. And when you broaden the scope across New York State, this is not the type of leadership that New Yorkers want in their governor. They want to being heckled, tax the rich. She said she's open to raising taxes on top of the taxes she's already raised for New Yorkers. Just last night, Kathy Hochul was in Puerto Rico, heckled off the stage by people telling her to raise taxes. So she is beholden to this radical far left. What have I delivered? I have worked to deliver the largest middle-class tax cut in history for New Yorkers. I delivered that working with my colleagues in Congress, and President Trump signed it into law.
Congresswoman, what's great about this for conservatives is if you look at New York City, they're obviously into socialism. Mamdani won. But you're running for the entire state. You represent the 21st congressional district. That's in upstate New York. That is a red area. So you have a really good shot of winning because it's not just about New York City. How do you plan, though, to combat the socialists who might be running against you? I know you'll probably run against Kathy Hochul, but if someone else comes in, Mamdani's transition committee, they raised more than $500,000 in less than 30 hours.
Mamdani refused to endorse her. So it's not just the radical left. We also had a newly elected Democrat assemblyman in my district, a moderate Democrat, who also refused to endorse Kathy Hochul. Compare that to our rollout of endorsements today. We've earned over 70% on day one of the Republican county chairs across our state, the full endorsement of our state Republican Party, as well as very strong support from the Conservative Party as well. I have a record of flipping a district. It was previously held by a Democrat. I've won every primary and general election, and we've overperformed, winning not just Republicans, but independents and a fair share of Democrats as well, because my record has been delivering results for families, for small businesses, for our veterans, for our farmers, which are so important to upstate New York. So we will win upstate New York. We are going to overperform any previous Republican in New York City, because New York City voters know that Kathy Hochul has even failed them by turning over their city to this radical communist. And we're going to continue crisscrossing the state, whether it's on Long Island, Western New York, or the country. We are getting an